This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America for this Wednesday morning. I'm Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. Coming up, as usual, on Wednesday morning, we'll be joined in a little while by Jeremy Plonk, horseplayernow.com and Night School. Just reviewing some of the stakes action from this past weekend with Jeremy, and I was happy to join Night School last night. If you didn't get a chance, we'll talk a little bit about it with Jeremy. But there was the Racing Town Hall meeting last night. Was the Night School session. I was one of the panelists, and fast and furious for about an hour and a half with Dan Silver from Penn National, and we had Eric Zimney from Charlestown. Various, as I say, industry pundits. Caton Bradar was along, Jill Byrne, and the conversation and the participation from the fans as well was a lot of fun. You can catch that archive if you'd like to see it. It's just a lot of ideas about where the racing industry is now, where it should be going, how it should get there. So it was a lot of fun last night on Night School. And again, Jeremy will join us in a while. About 10:30, a little after 10:30 perhaps, Mike McAdam from the Daily Gazette. Mike sits in the Saratoga press box each and every day all summer long covering horse racing, and he's the sports guy for the Daily Gazette, but he also does the horse racing columns that are there featured regularly throughout the rest of the year. Thought we'd just check in with Mike. We're a couple of weeks down the road now from the Breeders' Cup, but I just want to go back, get some of his thoughts, and now again looking out to where the Eclipse Awards may go, given what happened a couple of weeks ago. Get some of his thoughts this morning as well. And then about 10:45, we will be joined by a representative from the New York Fan Advisory Council. They have a meeting coming up this weekend at the Saratoga Harness Track that will allow you, the fans, to voice any questions, concerns, or comments you have about the racing industry in New York. Those comments then get put into a report that are moved up to the movers and shakers in the New York government. So keep that in mind. Again, we'll promote that event that's coming up this weekend where you will get to voice your concerns about the racing industry. All of that coming up. News, though, something, again, that's coming up that'll be worth keeping our eyes on. This is tomorrow down in Washington. There will be a hearing, U.S. House subcommittee hearing. It is scheduled to conduct a look at the it's the Subcommittee on Commerce, Manufacturing, and Trade, and they're going to conduct a hearing on the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Act. Now, the game plan here is what they're looking at is the potential for the U.S. government to have an organization that oversees the medication rules in horse racing. The panel that has been assembled for tomorrow, and again, this is down in Washington. It's going to be held tomorrow at 10 a.m. On Equidaily, I have a link. You should be able to pull up live video tomorrow, Thursday morning at about 10 a.m. The panel is going to include Travis Tagert, who is the chief executive of the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, and essentially that's kind of what they're modeling things after, what they're anticipating this proposed legislation may get to, something like that, a U.S. anti-doping agency that oversees horse racing and the medications used there. Witnesses will also include Jess Overton, former chairman of the Minnesota Racing Commission, Phil Hanrahan, chief executive of the National Horsemen's Benevolent and Protective Association, which hopefully will give the horsemen's side and a look at perhaps the positives to race day medication. You have Dr. Lawrence Soma, a researcher and drug testing specialist at the University of Pennsylvania, and Sheila Lyons, who is a farm owner with a veterinarian degree, and she was at the hearing they had in 2012 and was very critical of the racing industry and their medication policies. So I'm wondering, the panel seems maybe slightly tilted here, but we'll see. Again, there is a representative of the National HBPA, and hopefully the horsemen's thoughts and where they want to go with this will be put forth at the hearing. But that's tomorrow. We'll keep our eyes on that. In the past few days on ESPN, there have been ESPN.com kind of dueling columns. Bill Finley had a column a few days ago that essentially said, hey, Congress, jump in and save horse racing from itself. We need the federal oversight. And then Gary West, within the past day, has put out a very good column On the opposite side of that, with Gary West looking at federal intervention as being, and this is where I stand for, watch out what you wish for, because federal intervention is probably going to be a little more dicey than we anticipate, and Gary West lays out a very good case for that. I'm in that boat far more than the Finley category, where I think federal intervention into the horse racing game is not going to be a pretty sight, so it's a watch out what you wish for kind of thing. But again, tomorrow, hearing in Washington, have the link on Ecuador, link to both of the ESPN columns, as well as the link to the subcommittee website. That potentially there's a link there for live video. Whether that'll pop up tomorrow or not, I don't know. But you should be able to watch the hearing tomorrow via live video. And again, I have the link on Equidaily. Mentioned this yesterday, but another column came out in one of the New Jersey newspapers. The Meadowlands Racetrack has opened its new $88 million grandstand. It's a grandstand for the 21st century, scaled down in size, but it seems to be upgraded perhaps in the amenities. There was a representative from the Meadowlands. In fact, last night in that night school session, I mentioned it'll be interesting to see how the Meadowlands does with this new slimmed down grandstand, which is kind of where things are going in the 21st century. And the representative from the Meadowlands invited me down to take a visit, and so I may have to head down sometime and see it. But it sounds like it's going to, I'm optimistic. As the article from the New Jersey newspaper notes today, harness racing used to be one of the biggest games in town. When Meadowlands first opened, more than 18,000 people would regularly go through. On weekends, they may get 25,000, but now it's down to fewer than 2,000 typically. And as the article says, that leaves the grandstands looking empty and cold. And this has been what's happened in a lot of the racing industry. The on-track attendance, which is an old metric, people are still playing, there's still billions of dollars in handle, but you go to the racetrack, there's only maybe a couple thousand people there. You have a grandstand that's built for 20 or 30,000 people, all of a sudden it seems very empty, and perception is everything. So they're scaling them down. They did the same thing a few years ago, obviously, down at Gulfstream Park. Tampa, for years, a track that I enjoy. I compare that, if you've been to the harness track in Saratoga, I think the Tampa grandstand is similar in size. And so you go to Tampa, and it's not necessarily a huge crowd there, but the grandstand, the facility itself, just keeps people compacted in there, so there's a nice little buzz, and you get a feel that it's a nice day at the track with a good number of people there. And you just can't get that in some of these cavernous facilities where 2,000 people are just kind of milling around. And as I say, it gives a perception. So we'll see what happens down here with the new grandstand at the Meadowlands. It will be interesting. Jeff Gurl, the owner now of the Meadowlands, has been innovative, not only at the Meadowlands, but over at Vernon and Tioga Downs, which he also runs. And he raised $68 million for the new clubhouse through various partnerships, including the Hard Rock. That's kind of interesting. The new building, 180,000 square feet, which is about a third of the size of the old grandstand, has a VIP lounge, an ultra VIP space for the whale type of bettors. There's a bar that was designed by someone who had worked previously for Disney and Steve Wynn. There is also a dining area in the facility called Pink. It is a 300-seat tiered restaurant that oversees the track. And it just sounds like, as I say, it's a facility that's been scaled down for the 21st century, which when you get a typical crowd of a couple of thousand people maybe will still give a little buzz, but hopefully they've upgraded those amenities, so now maybe you'll get more than the 2,000. Maybe you'll start drawing in some new people. So it should be fun to see what happens. They had the upgrade out at Santa Anita. And this is something I've said for a while. I think that not necessarily the top-end tracks. I'd like to see some of this happen at maybe more some of the B and C levels, and where the money will come from, I'm not sure. That may be the problem. But you go to some of these tracks, and they just seem to be stuck in a kind of a 60s design mentality with the paint and the concrete floors and whatnot. And you'd like to see some of these upgrade a little bit and see if that can attract some more people to the track. But we're getting some sense of how this may happen, looking at Gulfstream and what they did a few years ago. Santa Anita did a major upgrade just recently, so we'll kind of watch them over the next season. And now this new Meadowlands facility, be interesting to see how it works out and how fans and potential fans respond to it. John Velazquez in recovery and has issued a press release through the Jockeys Guild. He is the chairman of the Jockeys Guild, and didn't have really much to say on an update. Does note there is a quote from Velazquez, I'm doing well and looking forward to a full recovery. There is no date for a return. It says, according to the doctors in New York, his recovery is progressing nicely as a follow-up visit with them next month. So again, things are moving well, but there's certainly no date looking forward. Velazquez also thanks the folks out in California, including the paramedics and the doctors in the ICU who took good care of him, the Breeders' Cup people. He was out there, spent 5 days in the hospital. After he left the hospital, he spent another 5 days in California. So he thanks the Breeders' Cup people for making sure he had some accommodations. Also gives thanks to Bob and Joe Baffert for their help and kindness. So again, a press release issued by John Velazquez, kind of updating his progress from the injury he suffered during the Breeders' Cup. And it seems like things are going in the right direction, but no date for a return. But we'll keep our fingers crossed there. Turfway Park does open on December 1st, and we do want to note that will be worth paying attention to because the first phase of their renovation of the poly track is underway. Turfway Park has been upgraded with that first phase of what will be a 3-year, $500,000 renovation project. We'll keep our eyes on that as well because I've said for a while now, we were doing these studies of synthetic tracks versus dirt tracks. And I've always said we're in such a new phase of the synthetic tracks. We're looking and making data on them based on tracks that, for the most part, were kind of brand new. And I think if you look at a dirt track when it's just put in, the statistics are very different than 10 or 15 years down the road. And we'll have to see how these synthetic tracks play when they start to age a little bit. And in fact, this Turfway Park surface was getting some criticism from some of the horse connections, some of the jockeys and whatnot most recently, and that's why they've undertaken this renovation. But it's one of the older synthetic racetracks. So now we're getting one that's being upgraded. We'll have to see how that works out, because over the years we've certainly seen plenty of dirt tracks where they've refurbished their surface, and we've seen how that works out. But let's take a look and see how things shake out now for again, some of these synthetic tracks. And this is pretty much, as far as I can think, the first really major renovation. We had the California tracks, which had made some changes certainly, but not in this kind of a fashion. So Turfway Park, we'll keep our eyes on them in this season that, again, is going to open December 1st. Going to head to the first break now. Again, after the first break, we will be joined by Jeremy Plonk. But as we go to the first break, just pulled up a little video, and I pulled it up to alert you. There's a fun feature that NYRA has released now on their YouTube channel, and I still haven't linked on Equidaily. The news came out a few days ago, so the link is now down in the middle column. But if you look, you'll see NYRA has released something called the Secretariat Connection. It's in commemoration of the 40th anniversary of Secretariat's retirement parade at Aqueduct Racetrack, and it's essentially the entire Secretariat career on video. As we go to the first break, we're going to watch Secretariat's career debut. And it actually looks like the first few races are cut from some kind of documentary. They're just sliced and diced little things. So the opening and the closing are a little harsh. But it's fun to see the very first race from Secretariat. You'll see, and you'll hear some commentary from the connections, got off badly and winds up running fourth in the career debut. We think of the great Secretariat, and Secretariat running fourth is not something we think of, so I thought it'd be fun to pull this one up. But you'll see they have Secretariat circled early in the race. As they come into the stretch, Secretariat's towards the back of the pack and kind of towards the outside, but you'll see, you'll be able to pick him up because he moves over to the rail. And so look for that horse on the outside moving to the rail, and then comes like a freight train to finish fourth. It was a very nice finish in the career debut. Followed it up next time with a win. But we're looking at Secretariat's career debut, fourth place finish, And again, I bring this up because it is now part of the NYRA Secretariat collection. That's on YouTube. You can look at all of Secretariat's races. Kind of fun to go through his career. Go to the NYRA YouTube channel, or as I say, if you go in the middle column, and it'll be down a ways because it's a few days old now, but I have a link to the press release, NYRA releases Secretariat collection on YouTube, and you'll be able to link to it through that. So coming up next, Secretariat's debut effort. We'll bring that into the commercial break. When we come back, Jeremy Plonk. We'll talk a little stakes action right after this.
A while to learn to run.
Unfortunately, the first time he ran, a horse come out of the gate, bolt right into him.
And this secretary didn't like. And so he pulled himself up and waited till they got out of his way. And then he had a long way to go to catch up.
And I was looking forward to see him on the lead because he had worked 5/8 and 57 and 4 or 58 out of the gate about a week before that, you know. I tell you, I shook my head. I said, my God.
On the outside is Quebec 6, followed by Lead Royal 7. Virgin is along the inside 9. Secretariat is
He must have been 20 lengths out of it. And then he circled the whole field and come around, and boy, he flew through that stretch. 10, unfortunately, that was the only time he was never off the board as far as money is concerned. He wound up where he was fourth.
That was just racing luck. I guess he didn't win, but I don't think he was defeated. He just failed to figure out the game.
Then we're running back.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB television network.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Using CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Simply log on with your username and password from the homepage. 2. Fund your Capital OTB account through our Easy Money, Green Dot, or Visa MasterCard options. And 3. Place your bet on one of our 3 easy-to-navigate wagering platforms, Capital Bet TV, Capital Bet Express, or Capital Bet Pro. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right, the 2013 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes and a seat at the 2014 National Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month, the Capital Cup on December 7th. So sign up today online at CapitalOTB.com or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook. And don't forget our Showviver Series, Capital OTB's online handicapping contest.
I'm Anthony Mormino. Join me weekdays at 9 for the Handicappers Report. We'll handicap the top tracks across the country and help you prepare for the day in racing. That's the Handicappers Report, weekdays at 9, only on the OTB TV network.
Welcome back to Racing Across America for this Wednesday morning. We are waiting to make contact with Jeremy Plonk. In the meantime, we'll take a look out at Saturday at Delta Downs. A nice card coming up for the Delta Downs jackpot. Hope to get somebody in at the end of the week from Delta Downs to actually specifically talk about some of this, but just taking a look out at some of the stakes action they have on Saturday down at Delta Downs. Delta Downs Mile, the Delta Mile, $150,000 purse, again going 1 mile. But what's interesting here, my old buddy Uncaptured. Now he's also on the list of nominees for the Clark over at Churchill Downs, obviously. But we'll see whether he winds up running on Saturday at Delta Downs. This would be an interesting spot, probably a more suitable spot. I'm not sure. Again, Uncaptured was the horse I was kind of married to, potentially going into the Kentucky Derby. Didn't make it there. Subsequently has not validated necessarily my confidence, although he had a nice close-up finish in the Matt Winn, a very close. I thought he was going to win that race. Subsequently wound up winning the Prince of Wales at Fort Erie, third in the Smarty Jones at Parks in early September, and then a dud last time pretty much in the Indiana Derby. I thought coming into the stretch in that Indiana Derby he was live, but just wound up flattening out a little bit and running fifth in there. So again, probably more suitable to go to this Delta Mile on Saturday as opposed to the Clark, but I'm still not completely divorced from Uncaptured, I must admit. So either way, I'm going to be watching with intent interest to see what he does. Also in the race is Nate's Mineshaft, who has some nice numbers certainly coming into this, but has been racing most recently on turf or synthetics. So I'm not sure that one is one I would be totally tied onto, but on the numbers is certainly live. And then Do No Harm, the horse that earlier this year was very interesting down at Oaklawn, comes in off a long layoff, hasn't been seen since April in the Texas Mile, and that wasn't that good of a race. So it's an interesting field in the Delta Mile. Uncaptured, as I say, probably this would be the spot, but again, I think everybody has some question marks going for them. And the guys in the control room gave me a message, but I didn't hear that. So why don't you give it to me again? Okay, I'm told we're still chasing Jeremy down. Delta Princess is also on Saturday night. Delta Princess, Grade 3, $500,000 purse, 4 2-year-old fillies going 1 mile. The horse in here that I find of interest is Misbehavior. It goes out for trainer Phil Schoenthal, guy we've talked about before, came out of the military, got into the training game, and has been kind of interesting, mostly down in the Mid-Atlantic area or over in Maryland. Misbehavior, a very nice horse for Phil, having won the first 3 career starts, including a couple of stakes races. Last time out was in the Sharp Cat at Belmont and ran a very close-up second. So in 4 career starts now, 3 nice wins, a second-place finish. I think Misbehavior will be very interesting on Saturday in the Delta Princess. Concave for Doug O'Neill, also going to be very interesting. In that this one, in the first 3 career starts, wins on the turf in the maiden special, the career debut at Hollywood, goes over to the synthetic at Del Mar and wins the Grade 2 Sorrento. That was only the 2nd career start. So in 2 starts, a maiden and a Grade 2 win. Follows that up in the Grade 1 Del Mar Debutante and runs a decent 3rd. All the numbers are very good. Then moves over into the Belmont Juvenile Fillies and had trouble there with that spill that John Velasquez was involved in. Winds up doing nothing in the race, but with a very good excuse. I thought Concave was really interesting in that in that Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly race, but with the trouble, there's all kinds of excuses there. So I think in the Delta Princess, again, Misbehavior to me is going to be kind of fun. Concave is going to be interesting as well. And a highlight for the evening is going to be the Delta Jackpot Grade 3 event with a $1 million purse. Again, these are 2-year-olds, obviously. The one that probably attracts the most attention for me is Coastline for Mark Casse. This is a horse that if you're looking at some of the lists of 2-year-olds with some potential, this horse is getting some buzz right now. First couple of starts, Churchill Downs in a maiden special, ran 2nd. Followed that up, breaking the maiden at Keeneland on the synthetic in early October. Then back to Churchill for the Street Sense, little stakes race, the 1-turn mile, won that very nicely. So again, Mark Casse has a horse that is moving in the right directions, numbers moving in the right direction, continues to stretch out. 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs, 1 mile, and then Saturday, a mile and a 16th. I think Coastline is going to be the one that will attract not only my attention, probably the attention of quite a few people. Rank Has Privileges for Ken McPeak off the debut maiden breaker over at Keeneland. Could be a little bit interesting. Mighty Brown for Tim Ice has a race here at Delta Downs and was probably a prep for this. The Jean Lafitte ran second behind Rise Up, who is also in this one for Tommy Amos, coming off of, as I say, what you would think would be the stakes prep race for this event. So both of those horses, with now some experience over the track, should be very interesting. Again, that's Mighty Brown and Rise Up. But as I say, I think Coastline will be probably the one that will attract the attention in here. And again, those are coming up Saturday at Delta Downs, Delta Jackpot evening down there. And the game plan is going to be, before the week is out, try to tie in here on the show with someone from Delta Downs and actually get some comments from them on their big day of racing down there. Some news I didn't get to at the top of the show. This is very interesting. There's a Dick Girardi column in the Racing Form today. You can link, I'm virtually certain I have it linked already over on Equidaily, but if you go to the Daily Racing Form, I think it's right on their front page, a link to it. Dick Girardi, Penn National sees handle increase with unique pick 4 bet with Belmont Park. And if you remember, going back to the start of the Belmont meet this year when they left Saratoga, they tied in. Of course, now the director of racing for Penn National is Dan Silver, who used to be over at NYRA. Well, he got in touch with his old friends over at NYRA, and they put together that really unique fun bet on Thursdays, where the last 2 races at Belmont Park and the first 2 at Penn National tied in for a co-racetrack pick 4. The question mark was going to be, and it seemed logical, once you had people kind of sucked into Penn National, the Belmont bettors say, hey, let's get that pick 4 that uses our late Belmont races and then adds in the 2 at Penn National. So now we have to look at Penn National. So the question is, now that you've got them looking at the first 2 at Penn National, will they look at some of the later races? Will they play money into those first 2 races at Penn National? Logically, you would think that's the way it would play out. And in fact, it did, and did so in a very big way. The numbers have been calculated. The average handle on the Penn National races for the 7 Thursdays that Belmont Penn National Pick 4 was held was about 1.3 million, a little over 1.3 million, which was a 31% increase from the same 7 Thursdays in 2012. 31%. And you can only think that is absolutely tied into the bettors playing that Belmont Penn National Pick 4. And then, since they've already looked at the first couple at Penn National, they'll play into that and maybe then start playing into later races as well. The first day of the bet was actually the best bet. That was back on September 12th. Pick 4 pool was 59,000. The Penn handle was 1.4 million. A 75% increase on the same Thursday a year earlier. So it was a fun experiment. The Dick Girardi column then goes into a little more of some of his thoughts on it, and I would tend to agree. You would think that racetracks may now look at that and kind of piggyback on the idea. A low takeout pick 4, tying a couple of racetracks together, is something that the bettors certainly have responded to and turned out to be very beneficial to certainly Penn National. So again, when that bet came out, it was going to be a curiosity to see how it worked out. Logically, you would think once folks have looked at a track, they'll bet into it. Seems like it's played out that way as the numbers have come in. 6 finalists have been named for the Secretariat Vox Populi Award. That's the award that Penny Chenery, the Secretariat owner, started a couple of years ago, which is essentially kind of a People's Choice Award for horse racing, for lack of a better term. They're the Eclipse Awards, which are based on media and racetrack personnel voting. The fans themselves haven't had input. And you go over to Europe, it's interesting, the Cartier Award, which came out a week or so ago, Trev won, the ARC winner. That does involve a fan vote faction. They have media, they have racetrackers, and they have fans involved in the Cartier Awards. Over here, the fans are obviously not involved in the Eclipse Awards. So a couple of years ago, Penny Chenery came up with this Vox Populi Award, which includes fan votes as well as a committee that includes Penny Chenery. They come together and come up with the award. And part of it was a couple of years ago when Zenyatta was knocking around out there, and the chance was put forward that maybe she wouldn't get the awards that fans were hoping she would get. And so Penny Chenery said, well, let's give the fans a voice in here. And so in the 2010 season, Zenyatta was the winner. 2011, it was Rapid Redux. I'm not sure this year there are stories that are quite as popular. Painter won last year, and Painter had that very unique story. So it's Zenyatta, who obviously was a huge fan favorite. It was Rapid Redux, who was the crazy starter allowance former claimer that ripped off a long winning streak and really was not going to be up for a wouldn't be up for an Eclipse Award, certainly. So this was kind of the only way for the racing industry, but the fans to recognize Rapid Redux. But there was a story there. And then Painter with the incredible comeback last year from a near fatal situation. That had a story too. I'm just not sure there's stories this year, so it'll be fun to see where the fans land. The nominees this year, Painter is nominated again. I'm not quite sure. I think last year's story was a little better. Did make it back to the racetrack and showed some success this year. So we'll see if they go back-to-back with Painter. The other nominees are Wise Dan, Princess of Silmar, Mucho Macho Man, Game On Dude, and Groupie Doll. And as I say, I'm not quite sure. There aren't necessarily stories. Wise Dan is going to get plenty of hardware at the Eclipse Awards, so do the fans go in his direction? Princess of Silmar may be the one that fans would recognize, having potentially lost the 3-year-old filly Eclipse. Will they step up and give her a fan award? Mucho Macho Man, I think the connections have the better story. Kathy Ritbo being the survivor of a heart transplant. The Mucho Macho Man record itself is not anything to get that excited about in 2013. Great win in the Breeders' Cup Classic, but I'm not sure it warrants the fans getting revved up about. Game On Dude, similar kind of a situation. Groupie Doll, perhaps, now that she has essentially wrapped up her career. It'll be fun to see what she does in the Cigar Mile, but maybe there's a little bit of a story there. But as I say, as compared to the past 3 winners of this award, there's no real fan story to wrap yourself around here. And so we'll see how it shakes out. The 6 finalists, though, have been announced for that Secretariat Vox Populi Award. Also, I didn't mention this. This was a story that came out at the end of the weekend, and I did want to get this out there before the week passed. John Henry's name came up this week as one of the horses of note in the horse racing record books, as he was surpassed. John Henry being tied for the number of Grade 1 wins he had in the career at 16. He was tied with Cato Star, a great jumper over in Europe. They both were sitting at 16 Grade 1 wins in their careers, which was a record. But John Henry surpassed by another jumper. So technically, I think John Henry probably stays in the record books as the flat running horse with 16 Grade 1 wins. But do want to note, Hurricane Fly did establish a new world record of 17 Grade 1 victories in his career. And a very, very talented, obviously, jumper over there in Europe. Hurricane Fly on the weekend won the Grade 1 Morgiana Hurdle at Punchtown. That was on Sunday. Hurricane Fly, a 9-year-old, they're in the midst now of the beginning of the jump season over there in Europe. Again, they have a very distinct flat season. They continue to run at Lingfield and on the all-weather surfaces. They do have flat races even during the winter. But for the most part, the main flat season ends with those champion races that we had a few weeks ago, pretty much. And then the jump season begins, and the jump season is underway, the Grade 1 event that was won this past weekend. Hurricane Fly, 17th Grade 1 victory, and as I say, surpasses John Henry. But as I know, I think there's an asterisk here, which keeps John Henry in the record books, no doubt about that. All right, we will take our break. It looks like we missed our contact with Jeremy Plunk. He may have had something come up, but we'll move along. After this break, we'll be joined by Mike McAdam of the Daily Gazette. Again, he's up there in the booth of the press box all Saratoga long, covering horse racing for the Gazette on a daily basis. And the rest of the year, he's covering a multitude of sports, but also looking at horse racing from around the country. Great columns each and every week in the Daily Gazette. Going to take a look back with Mike at what his thoughts were from the Breeders' Cup a couple of weeks back, and then again looking forward where we may expect some of the Eclipse Awards to potentially go. Stay tuned. All of that up next.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Fascinated by the world of horse racing? Interested in honing your handicapping skills? Class is in session. Night school, Monday nights. Easy to access online. It's free. interactive, and informative for the casual and serious race fan. Horse Player Now Buzz. Live horses to watch emailed to you daily. Our eyes, your prize. Night School in the Buzz. Visit horseplayernow.com for details.
Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Casano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
This is Steve Beck. Join me Tuesday through Saturday here on OTB TV for At the Races, my Sirius XM daily news magazine of the thoroughbred industry. Handicapping, interviews, analysis, everything you could want. 6 a.m. OTB TV.
Welcome back to Racing Across America for this Wednesday morning. Happy to be joined now by Mike McAdam from the Daily Gazette. Good morning, Mike.
How are you today, Seth?
Very good. Happy to have you on board. And I noted before the break and at the top of the show, see you every day up in the press box at Saratoga, where you cover racing on a daily basis. The rest of the year, you're kind of all over the place. So since Saratoga, what are the sports you've been looking at?
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because just to kind of update on my status, over the last couple of weeks, I've been reassigned to a full-time columnist. So I'm technically not a racing or Siena basketball beat writer anymore. But at the same time, I kind of have carte blanche to write about whatever I want now, and certainly racing is going to be heavily in the rotation. And once we get back into Saratoga, I'm still going to be up there every day, and it's just going to be coming sort of from a different vantage point, from a columnist viewpoint. So I'm still going to be up there every day. It's just going to be in a kind of a different capacity. So I'm looking forward to that.
Nice, nice. So is your column regularly scheduled during the week?
Yeah, right now the game plan is to have one in every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, depending on the schedule and certain events, that might be, that might not always be locked in like that. But that's what we're shooting for, like something in the middle of the week, and then obviously the weekend is very heavy with live events and that sort of stuff. So right now we're looking at Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday, and again, once Saratoga comes up, that's going to factor into, the big stakes races on the weekend. But then the middle of the week column can maybe be more of like a trend or issue oriented thing, where I can sit back and maybe just talk to some people about things that are going on in the game. So, like I said, it's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be a fun one. I'm really looking forward to it and having fun with it already.
Have you started the columns already? What have you written about so far?
Yeah, well, I have been the columnist for a few years now, but it's been very sporadic, like once every, sometimes 2 months or so, and now they just said, we just want you to concentrate on this. It's amazing the variety already in 2 weeks. I've done everything from high school football to racing to Siena basketball to union hockey, so really it's been all over the map, and it should continue to be that way. Now, I want to keep a finger on racing, so I do have some latitude to maintain the Saturday racing notes. It's going to taper off in the wintertime, of course, when there's not as much going on, and after we get through, the Clark and the Cigar, it'll be a little more abbreviated, but once we get back into the spring, I'm still going to be able to probably hold some time to maintain that, because I know people kind of have gotten used to looking for it every Saturday morning. So that's not going to go away entirely.
Oh, that's very good, because for local folks who know, but also I'll mention for folks who maybe aren't watching in the area, the Daily Gazette on Saturdays, that's probably like a half a page, isn't it, devoted to racing and the big stakes races. It really is a favorite of a lot of newspaper readers around here.
It's not going to be a half a page anymore, but it's still going to be there. And I think a lot of times it was a half a page because we had so much space, and I said, well, I'd rather fill it with a ton of racing stuff than have somebody go searching on the wire for 40 inches of tennis or something to plug into that hole. So, as long as I had the time and willingness to do it, which I always did, then, the space would be gigantic sometimes, and it won't be like that anymore. But like I said, I do want to maintain the regular, Saturday morning, because there's so much stuff going on the weekends. We like to give people a heads up and update them on perhaps some things that are going on. So, yeah, we intend to keep doing that.
Very good. Well, congratulations on the move into the columnist arena, and we'll be looking forward to what you're writing, particularly in the racing side of the game. And that's why we invited you on this morning to get some of your thoughts. Over the past couple of weeks, we've reached out to a lot of people. Obviously, what is considered the championship event of the racing industry was held a couple of weeks ago out in Santa Anita. The Breeders' Cup, couple of days of racing. We're going to watch the stretch run of the Classic here one more time. Watch Mucho Macho Man just get it done over Will Take Charge with Declaration of War. For me, kind of a surprise, but right up there in the hunt as well. A great capper to the 2 days of racing. Just overall, give us your impressions of those 2 days of the Breeders' Cup.
Well, it's funny you bring up the word championship, and I'm kind of one of these crusty contrarians who chooses not to use that word whenever I refer to the Breeders' Cup, because I don't consider every race to be an automatic championship. A lot of cases it is. Like this year, for instance, I think Dank and Wise Dan certainly solidified and clinched championships. But in the meantime, we still have some things up in the air, including Older Male. Mucho Macho Man, based on that victory, seems to be gaining a lot of support for Older Male Eclipse. But in the meantime, Game On Dude, they're going to come right back in the Clark, and if something happens there where he wins, then then it's not such an easy question anymore.
Yeah, no question about it, and I tend to agree with you. I think too many voters give too much weight to the Breeders' Cup, and often to the exclusion of plenty of good racing later. You mentioned the Clark, but we also have coming up a Cigar Mile, which could be very interesting in the 3-year-old category. And let me ask your thoughts there. We just saw the stretch run. I think a lot of people after the Classic looked at Will Take Charge as being the leader in the 3-year-old division, which is kind of up in the air right now when you really come down to it. But he's just done enough late in the season, and that second place finish is enough that voters seem to be leaning in his direction. But both the Clark and the Cigar Mile could play into that.
Well, yeah, including Wayne Lucas among those people who, and he was quoted as saying last weekend that Will Take Charge has already sealed it. But come on now, no way, not by a long shot. And you talk about deep closers. I know it's not his running style, but Golden Sense, if he pulls off the Cigar Mile, here's a horse who hadn't won since April, and now he's pulling off the Dirt Mile and perhaps the Cigar Mile, and he's going to gain a lot of consideration just off of that. So, Orb is still kind of lurking back there. If We'll Take Charge bombs and Golden Sense loses, he's going to get a lot of consideration too. But there's going to be a lot of crazy things going on that last weekend, and nothing is decided in that division by any means at all.
And how about Groupie Doll? Not only I thought she'd lost a step, so I didn't use her on top in the Breeders' Cup, but it was great to see her win, as well as Misdirection and Wise Dan, repeat winners like that. We lament horses going to the breeding shed too soon, but to see the repeat winners come back and do it was a lot of fun. But now Groupie Doll not only wins that and repeats, goes to the auction house. The new owner now says, maybe we'll get in another race. That Cigar Mile is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, God bless Mandy Pope for that, too. She easily could have just said, nope, we're not doing it anymore. And next thing you know, they're jumping into this race, which just really spices up. Would have been a terrific race anyway. And I'm not convinced that, some people may consider Groupie Doll the Philly Sprint champion off of a repeat win, but, Misdirection's still kind of out there with just a really tremendous campaign, whether you think a turf horse deserves a sprint championship or not. But, Groupie Doll jumps up and wins the Cigar Mile, then forget about it. But just the fact that she's in there, like you said, you just love to see this. Orb retires and Oxbow retires, and, you see these 3-year-olds just dropping off the map. And meanwhile, Groupie Doll's right back in this race, going against males and in New York for a huge purse enhancement and everything. I mean, it's just great for the game. You wish you could see it more.
Yeah, and we should emphasize that. We haven't made enough of that. The purse enhanced with Breeders' Cup winners, Breeders' Cup participants, they are shooting for a lot of money, those Breeders' Cup runners in the Cigar Mile. So Cigar Mile, the Clark, both really interesting. Let's touch on a couple of other Eclipse categories and see your thoughts. First of all, 2-year-old. I have New Year's Day with the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, obviously folks are leaning in that direction, I think, because, again, they give so much weight to that race. But 2 maiden races and the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, that doesn't jump out and necessarily say championship to me. But where do you go in the other direction? What do you think? Honor Code in the Remsen, does he stand a chance?
Why not? I mean, like you said, and again, this goes back to my contrarian stance on the Breeders' Cup claiming to be automatic championships. Who knows, a strong mandate might show up in the Kentucky Jockey Club, too. And, so if he wins that in the Hopeful, that's 2 grade 1s. It's 1 more grade 1 than New Year's Day. So, sure, Honor Code could sneak it out, too. I'd have to take a hard look at him. The beauty is we still need to wait a little bit. Nothing's etched in stone, so there's still some cool things to pay attention to.
Yeah, and how about on the Philly side? I don't know whether this is an Eclipse performance, but how about the Finger Lakes trainer, Jeremiah Engelhardt, getting the win in the Breeders' Cup?
I'm from Western New York, and one exit away from the Finger Lakes exit, and so needless to say, I have a soft spot in my heart for that filly. That said, I have to, I guess, kind of throw the personal thoughts out of it. Because She's a Tiger's resume certainly is stacked a lot better than Rhea Antonio. But, yeah, that's another tough one that's still up in the air. And unfortunately, that one doesn't have any more evidence that's going to be gathered where we can kind of figure things out. So I'm still undecided, and I'm just going to have to kind of piece it together in my head a little bit.
And let's look at the 3-year-old filly division, because that, of course, had some local connections at Stanko and up here at Saratoga, Princess Asilmar. And after the Saratoga season and the Alabama, I think, and I was in this camp, we'd handed the title to Princess Asilmar. But Beholder hadn't made the comeback yet. And I don't think anybody could have foreseen what she did in that time between the Alabama and then her winning the Breeders' Cup, the distaff out there. So I think Beholder, as I say, I was in that camp, but I just could not have foreseen that. It looks like Beholder now probably in the lead as far as that 3-year-old filly Eclipse. But I've also said, I hope the folks in the Princess Asilmar camp aren't kicking themselves, because a lot of people a week before were saying things like, if she stayed in the barn, she would have won the title. But I think after seeing what Beholder did, I don't know if I believe that anymore.
The only people kicking the Princess Asilmar camp is people outside the Princess Asilmar camp. And Ed said all along and stressed it that the Eclipse Awards factor into their decisions not one bit. The horse was fit and healthy, so they decided, you know what, we don't sit on the couch with her. We're going to race her. That's kind of the spirit of their whole organization. They went out there and risking a lot, got beat with absolutely no regrets. I talked to Ed afterwards. I wasn't out there, but I gave him a call, and he said, nope, no way. How could, we can't regret anything that we've done with this campaign. She, she didn't show up. He said he could tell right in the paddock that it wasn't going to be her day, and he said Royal Delta didn't look very good either. They were just kind of like tense, and he knew before she even got in the starting gate that she was going to have a rough go of it, and sure enough, the results proved that. But at the same time, they like I said, they have no regrets whatsoever about going out there, and so they're not kicking themselves, even if other people are criticizing them for having supposedly an Eclipse locked up that they maybe tossed away by getting beat in the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, I certainly applaud them, as I think everyone does. And in fact, I've heard the sentiment over maybe the past week and a half, a couple of folks that have written things that say it's Princess Asilmar will still get their vote, and they like this sporting gesture. So that'll be fun to see how that vote shakes out. Mike, got to wrap things up, but we certainly appreciate the visit this morning. Again, we'll remind people, look for Mike as the columnist now in the Daily Gazette, where there will be plenty of racing coverage in the mix, certainly, and we'll look forward to reading that regularly in the Daily Gazette. Mike, again, we appreciate the visit this morning. We'll catch up with you down the road.
Thanks, Seth. See you up at Annie's sometime.
Absolutely. Mike McAdam from the Daily Gazette. All right, we'll take our last break. When we come back, Michael Amo of ThoroughFan, he's also on the New York Fan Advisory Council. It'll be having the meeting locally this weekend. We'll tell you all about that right after this.
I'm Jeff Carl. Join me Saturdays and Sundays at 9 for the Handicappers Report. We'll handicap the top tracks across the country and help you prepare for the weekend in racing. That's the Handicappers Report, weekends at 9, only here on the OTB TV network.
The future of online betting is here, and only at the all-new CapitalOTBBet.com. With a newly designed and engineered internet wagering platform, enhanced video streaming, additional funding options, and 3 new individual wagering opportunities, CapitalOTBBet.com delivers a state-of-the-art wagering experience found nowhere else in horse racing. Combine that with our all-new mobile website. You have 2 of the most powerful, innovative, and advanced wagering platforms available today. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Using CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Simply log on with your username and password from the homepage. 2. Fund your Capital OTB account through our Easy Money, Green Dot, or Visa MasterCard options. And 3. Place your bet on one of our 3 easy-to-navigate wagering platforms, Capital Bet TV, Capital Bet Express, or Capital Bet Pro. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
I'm Steve Beck.
And I'm Seth Merrill.
Together, we're loose on the lead on Capital OTB, Sundays at 10 a.m. Why should they watch, Seth?
Sit down on Sunday, have a bagel, get some great racing conversation.
Cream cheese only, no jelly. Sundays, 10 a.m., loose on the lead, Capital OTB.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Happy to be joined now by Michael Amo, who is the chairman and co-founder of ThoroughFan. Whenever we have Michael on, we like to say if you're a fan and you'd like your voice to be heard and you'd like to participate in this fan advocacy group, you go to ThoroughFan, their website, THORFAN. You can find them on the internet and get all the information about them. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Seth. Thanks for having me on.
Happy to do it. And as I say, you are the chairman of ThoroughFan, but we invited you on here this morning because you're also a member of the New York Racing Fan Advisory Council. They have a meeting coming up this weekend, Sunday, at the Saratoga Harness Track. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, this is our essentially 5th in a series of the last couple of years fan forums that the Racing Council puts on, and that we're mandated by the council's establishment to attend tracks and to get fan input. We've been at Aqueduct, once at Saratoga Flat Track. We've been to Yonkers, Belmont, and now this Sunday we're going to be at the Saratoga Gaming Raceway for an open fan forum for predominantly harness folks, but we're also looking to talk to thoroughbred folks.
And we should note that you're at the harness track, but your mission is the horse racing industry. So if there are folks who have questions, comments, thoughts on the game on the thoroughbred side, they're invited as well, correct?
Oh, absolutely. We want to hear the voice of the fan. We want to hear ideas. Our mandate as a council is to collect the ideas and opinions of racing fans, and those of us that have been fans for a while know we all have opinions, but to bring them together so that we can present them to the public officials and the policymakers in New York State, and perhaps have some influence on the regulatory environment in New York for racing. So that's our goal. We really are the pipeline to the policymakers and state government on racing.
And again, we just saw the graphic up there where we noted. It is this Sunday, November 24th, 11 a.m. It'll kick off. Second floor of the grandstand up at the Saratoga Harness Track. If you're a racing fan, you have thoughts about the racing industry, head on up there, get your voice heard. And Michael, tell us how this plays out. The fans get up there, they voice concerns, questions, comments to you, and then from there, those opinions go where?
Well, we have a 5-member board, which all of us will be there. To hear what is being said. We will record the questions and comments made by the public and the fans. We will answer those if we have information that's available, but most of the time we're going to just be collecting thoughts that people have. We will put that information up. First of all, it'll be on the website in audio format, as is the one we just did at Belmont. You can go to the website and actually see that. That's gaming.newyork.gov/horse racing, and you can listen to the comments at the Belmont Forum. We'll do that for this one. We also then collect those comments, and each year we have to give to the New York State Gaming Commission an annual report on the ideas that fans bring forward. We did one in 2012. This will be our second one. And in addition to collecting the information, we then go back to the racetracks and the OTBs and ask them, what have they done in the last year regarding our recommendations? And we'll put that in the report as well. So we're trying to get the fans' point out there to the commission and to the operators, and then sort of stay on top of it to make sure the actions of fans ask for are addressed.
Excellent. And certainly in the age of the internet, we know that fans have a lot of opinions. And so if you're one of those, if you're a fan and you've got an opinion, show up, make your voice heard, because this is the way that we can potentially move things forward and get those opinions and questions and comments in front of the movers and shakers in the industry. So we certainly appreciate, Michael, the efforts that you and the New York Racing Fan Advisory Council are putting forth. Again, a reminder, this Sunday, Harness Track, 11 a.m. Go up there, as you will get a chance to have your voice heard. Michael, as always, we appreciate the visit. Again, if folks want to learn more about participating in Thoroughfan, they can stop by your website for that as well, THOROFAN, Thoroughfan, a great advocacy group for the racing industry. Michael, thanks for the visit, and we'll check in with you down the road.
Great. Thanks very much. Look to see a lot of people out there, and we want to get their opinions so we can affect the quality of racing here in New York.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. Thanks again, Mike.
Thanks a lot, Seth.
All right, that'll wrap things up for Racing Across America 4 this Wednesday morning. Michael Amo was on board, and Mike McAdam as well from the Daily Gazette. Lots of great racing conversation this morning. We're here every Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. Should keep reminding people, the Capital OTB YouTube channel has been updated. If you go to capitalotb.com, there is a link to our YouTube channel on there. If you don't get to watch us live, Racing Across America is now archived on the YouTube channel, so you can check that out as well. All right, that'll wrap things up for this Wednesday afternoon. Good luck at the races today. We'll see you for more tomorrow. The Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back. That's right, the 2013 Capital OTB Handicapping Challenge Series is back, and it's your chance to win thousands in cash and prizes and a seat at the 2014 National Handicapping Championship in Las Vegas. This month, the Capital Cup on December 7th. So sign up today online at capitalotb.com or stop in at the Clubhouse Racebook. And don't forget our Showviver series, Capital OTB's online handicapping contest. Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Casano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Listen to what people are saying about the Clubhouse Racebook.
I've been coming here for well over 30 years to the OTB, and I think this is an outstanding facility. Probably comparable to something you'd see in Vegas. They have the big screens there, and then they have the auxiliary screens for, watching all the tracks. And the primary tracks of the day, they'll switch to the big screens, which is ideal for most of us race guys. We like to see the big races on the big screen. Well done.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.